Most men over 60 spend real time thinking about the right fit, the right color, the right jacket, and all of that matters. But there is one element of how clothes look and feel that sits underneath every other decision and shapes the outcome of all of them, and most men never consciously think about it at all. They handle it every morning without registering what it is, and they pay for ignoring it in ways they cannot quite explain. Fabric, not the brand, not the price. The material itself, what the garment is made from, how it is constructed, and how those properties interact with a man's body, his movements, and the light around him. Two shirts in the same color, the same cut, and the same fit can produce entirely different impressions depending entirely on what they are made from. One looks rich, structured and clean, 4 hours into the day. The other looks like it gave up somewhere around mid-morning. One photographs well, holds its shape when you sit down, and drapes with the kind of quiet authority that people register without consciously naming. The other does none of those things, regardless of what it cost. This channel is about classic menswear, timeless style, and practical decisions for men who want to look sharp without overcomplicating things. Today we are going into fabric, the specific materials that work consistently well for men over 60, why they work, and the ones that quietly undermine every outfit they appear in. This is not about spending more, it is about choosing better. And once you understand what to look for, you will never look at a garment the same way again. Let us start with the fabric that most men over 60 own a version of, but often in the wrong weight: cotton. Cotton is the most versatile fabric in a man's wardrobe. It breathes, it washes well, it exists in dozens of weaves and weights. But not all cotton is equal, and the version most commonly found in cheaper garments, thin, loosely woven, slightly shiny cotton, is one of the most damaging fabrics a man over 60 can regularly wear. Here is what thin cotton does to an outfit. It clings. When it sits near the body, it follows every contour, some of which a man wants highlighted, most of which he does not. It wrinkles easily, and the wrinkles do not shake out. It loses its shape after a few hours of wear, the collar softening, the shoulders slightly dropping, the whole garment looking progressively more tired as the day goes on. And under any kind of direct light, daylight, restaurant lighting, a camera flash, thin cotton often develops a slight translucency or sheen that makes the fabric look cheap, regardless of what it costs to buy. The better move is midweight cotton, specifically Oxford cotton for shirts, and cotton piqué for polo shirts. Oxford cotton has a distinctive basket weave structure that gives the fabric a gentle texture and a matte surface. It holds its shape through the day, does not cling, and creates a cleaner visual surface than thin broadcloth. You can tell the difference immediately. Oxford cotton has visible texture when you look closely, while thin broadcloth looks flat and slightly shiny. Cotton piqué, the classic polo shirt fabric, has a similar textured surface that gives the garment structure and a clean matte finish that photographs well and holds its shape hour after hour. These are not expensive upgrades. Oxford cotton shirts exist at every price point. The decision is simply to notice what you are buying. A shirt labeled 100% cotton can be Oxford weave or thin broadcloth, and the gap in how they look and behave is significant. And once you understand the difference within cotton itself, the next fabric category becomes much easier to evaluate: wool. Wool has a reputation problem with many men over 60. It sounds heavy, itchy and formal, like something their grandfather wore. But modern wool, especially merino wool, bears almost no resemblance to the wool of that association. Merino is lightweight, temperature regulating, naturally odor resistant, and has a smooth surface that drapes cleanly over the body without bulk or stiffness. A fine merino crewneck worn over a shirt, or as a standalone in moderate weather, adds structure and visual weight to an outfit in exactly the right way, without heaviness, without formality, and without the itching that older wool types produced. Here is what merino wool does for a man over 60. Specifically, it drapes, Rather than sitting stiffly on the shoulders and chest the way synthetic knitwear does, or bagging and losing shape the way cheaper wool blends do, merino wool follows the natural contours of the body with a soft, controlled weight. It makes the shoulders look broader and the overall silhouette more defined, particularly in crew necks and quarter zips, where the neckline frames the face. And because merino is naturally temperature regulating, it works across a much wider range of conditions than most fabrics: cool enough to wear in autumn, warm enough to wear in mild winter, and comfortable enough to layer in either direction. The practical difference between merino and cheaper wool blends or acrylic knitwear is visible immediately in the surface quality. Merino has a clean, smooth surface with a slight sheen that reads as quality without looking formal. Acrylic knitwear, the material used in most budget sweaters, looks flat, pills quickly, and develops a slightly fuzzy surface that reads as cheap even when new. If you hold both under good light and look at the surface, you can see the difference without reading a label. Now, here is the part most men never hear about fabric, because it sits outside the categories they usually think about: linen. Linen has a complicated reputation. It wrinkles. That is the objection most men raise immediately, and it is true. Linen wrinkles, but the relationship between linen wrinkles and appearance is more nuanced than most men realize. A linen shirt that has been worn for an hour and has developed soft, natural creases does not look sloppy the way a wrinkled cotton broadcloth shirt does. It looks like linen. The wrinkles are built into the character of the fabric, and they are universally understood as such. Nobody looks at a slightly creased linen shirt and thinks the wearer is careless. They think the wearer chose linen, which communicates something specific and intentional about summer dressing. There is also a practical solution to the wrinkle concern that most men overlook: a linen-cotton blend, typically 55% linen to 45% cotton, or thereabouts, retains most of the breathability and texture of pure linen, while wrinkling significantly less. These blends are widely available, often at the same price point as pure linen, and for men who want the benefits of linen without committing entirely to its natural crease-prone character, the blend is an excellent middle ground. What linen actually offers men over 60 is significant. It is the most breathable of all natural fabrics, significantly more so than cotton, which makes it genuinely comfortable in warm weather rather than merely tolerable. It has a slight texture and structure that gives shirts and overshirts a natural presence and drape without weight, and its matte, slightly textured surface photographs extremely well and does not cling or reflect light in ways that flatter nobody. The practical version of this for most men is a linen or linen blend overshirt, a linen shirt for warm weather smart casual occasions, and linen trousers or shorts as a summer alternative to cotton chinos. These pieces do not need to be expensive. They simply need to be in the right colors: navy, stone, white, olive, pale blue, and worn at the right weight for the occasion. And once the natural fabrics are understood, the last category becomes the easiest to address because it is simply about avoidance: synthetic fabrics and the specific properties that make them work against men over 60. Polyester, acrylic, nylon, and most synthetic blends share certain properties that consistently undermine how a garment looks on a mature man. They do not breathe, which means the body generates warmth beneath them, which in turn affects how the garment drapes and how comfortable the man wearing it appears. They reflect light in a way that reads as cheap, a slight sheen or plastic quality that is immediately visible in photographs and in direct lighting. They pill, developing small balls of fiber on the surface after relatively little wear, which signals age and low quality regardless of how recently the garment was purchased. And they do not drape. They hold their manufactured shape rather than following the body, which creates a slightly rigid, slightly artificial silhouette that is the opposite of what a well-dressed man wants. The most common version of this problem for men over 60 is the acrylic knit sweater, the kind sold at mass market prices in every color, feeling soft and light in the shop, but developing a fuzzy, pilled surface within a season of regular wear. Or the polyester blend dress shirt that looks fine on the hanger, but shines slightly under office or restaurant light, and wrinkles into a complex crease pattern after an hour of wear, or the synthetic polo that clings to the torso and develops a slight sheen that makes even a well-fitted shirt look like it belongs in a leisure center rather than a restaurant. There is a simple test for identifying synthetic content in a garment, even without reading the label. Take the fabric between your fingers and rub gently. Natural fibres, cotton, wool, linen, feel dry and slightly textured. Synthetic fibres feel slightly slippery, almost plastic, and generate a very small amount of static if rubbed more firmly. Another test: hold the fabric up to the light. Natural fibres diffuse the light through their weave. Synthetic fibres often let the light through in a way that creates a slight sheen or translucency. Neither test is scientific, but both are useful starting points when assessing a garment quickly in a shop. The principle is simple. Natural fibres, cotton, wool, linen, and in certain contexts silk and cashmere, behave in ways that flatter the human body because they have been doing so for centuries. They breathe, they drape, they age in ways that look intentional rather than degraded. Synthetic fibres behave in ways that prioritize manufacturing efficiency over wearability. They are not always avoidable, and in certain performance contexts they are the right choice. But for the everyday garments that make up most of what a man over 60 wears, the polo shirts, the knitwear, the casual trousers, natural fabrics consistently produce a better result. Here is the practical fabric guide for men over 60. In shirts and polo shirts, look for Oxford cotton or cotton piqué. In knitwear, prioritize merino wool or merino blends over acrylic. In summer garments, consider linen and linen cotton blends for shirts and trousers. And across all categories, treat the presence of polyester and acrylic as a signal to look more carefully before buying. Not a reason to refuse outright, but a reason to assess whether the quality is there despite the synthetic content, rather than assuming it is. A well-dressed older man does not chase logos. He chases quality where quality actually lives, in the material, in the weave, in the way a garment holds its shape. At the end of the day, when everything it is made of has been asked to perform for 8 or 10 hours, that is where the difference shows, and once you start noticing it, it becomes impossible to unsee. So here is what I want to know. Is fabric something you have thought about before when buying clothes? Or has it been mostly background noise until now? And which of your current pieces do you think might be working against you based on what you have just heard? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. If you appreciate honest, practical style advice for men over 60, subscribe to the channel. In the next video, we are going into the smart casual formula that works for almost any occasion and why most men over 60 have never been shown it clearly. You will not want to miss that one.